Please welcome back Joshua Weinstein. And you want to introduce the rest of our cohort?
Can I also have Menashe Lustig, who's here, stand up, come up front? And Alex Lipschultz, producer, writer with me, Tracy, producer, and Danelle, executive producer. Also, we have two actors here as well. Abraham, wave your hand over there. And Shlomo, is he back? You're right here, Menashe. Good. We'll have another actor you can wave at too and say hello to afterwards. But thank you guys for sitting through that and for being here. I really appreciate it.
All right. So, let's begin by just talking about the origins of the film, how you got this group together, and what was the starting point for the film?
I feel like it's its own like Sundance film is how we got the team together. Basically, I've been doing documentary for a long time, and a lot of documentary is really difficult. I was doing this end-of-life care documentary, a tuberculosis documentary. But anyway, I came home, and I said, I want to sleep in the same bed as my wife every night and make something that is as interesting and as specific as a documentary I was working on when I was in India and Africa at the time, but make it in Brooklyn. So I started YouTubing, which everyone should do, and I found Danny Finkelman. And Danny Finkelman is the Michael Bay of Jewish music videos. And they're incredible. It's called Sparks X. You should Google them when you go home. But these are like epic music videos, all with Haredi, ultra-Orthodox Jews in it. So I called him up, and I started hanging out with him, and very quickly I met Menashe. And I said, Danny, I met Menashe, and I did a screen test with him, and I was blown away by his acting abilities. And Danny's like, what, Menashe? What do you want with that schlub? And I'm like, because, people, and again, the same thing with the rabbi. When I met the rabbi, same thing, I'm like, Danny, I found the rabbi for the movie, Mayor. And he's like, what, you want Mayor? He's not a rabbi. So like, what attracted me to a lot of the actors were just like something specific, some personality, something that was so alive that captured in camera. But if you passed it on the street, you would just avoid your head. And it's something about like what we'd avoid our heads to. That's what I want to point the camera at.
And so it sounds like much of the cast were first-time actors, non-actors, let's say.
Yeah. So this was like putting together your high school play, where you have about 27 people, and that's it, and everyone gets a role. So. And again, it's great. You love every one of those 27 great friends in high school, but the talent. But anyway, we would then change the script to fit the actors we found, and no matter what, and again, people who originally Menashe was supposed to have a father-in-law he was fighting with, but then we couldn't find a father-in-law. Well, I mean, we did find a great father-in-law, but he left a few days before we shot. So then we made it a brother-in-law. So we had to just be flexible. The thing was that no one would want to make a film like this because you just had to be flexible and you had to have an ideal and then change it the next hour. So everything was. I mean, it was very decided upon. We had our goals, but then when something happened, we would just have to change it and find a benefit in that difference.
Well, maybe both you and Menashe could talk a bit about this. Directing non-professional actors, first-time actors. I'm just curious how that functioned for you, and sort of whether your background from documentary almost came into play there.
Well, definitely. There's definitely a sensitivity with non-actors, but the main thing was that I got them in a room beforehand and I did screen tests with them, where literally I would just do improv games and saw who could respond to it. And Menashe's first improv game we did I had Yoni, who was also a producer, DP in the movie with me, and he and I said to Menashe, pretend that Yoni has a pink shirt on, okay? It's a silly game, right? But it's like, but that conviction in his eyes and just. It was so serious, but I loved it. It was serious. It was also funny and somewhat heartbreaking, and that conviction. And every actor, like we played different games with, and you saw what they could do and what was natural to them, and then we worked with that naturalism. So, and also obviously you just have to be sensitive. I mean, a lot of actors couldn't hit marks, couldn't remember lines, and you just had to really work with them line by line sometimes. But again, we found their essence, and we made something great with what we had.
Do you have anything to add about acting in the film?
Yeah, people knows me about comedy, make comedy stuff, but he proved me that I could make something serious too. And I say one word, the Talmud says, if somebody will tell you he didn't work hard and he accomplished to do something, don't believe him. Worked very hard, extremely hard. More than one guy backed out, and even me get so much heat and people telling me all kind of stuff. But I didn't have regret.
Yeah. Menashe was complaining before that I made him walk up the stairs too much, or I made him carry the boxes too much.
I was thinking all the time, this is just a setup scam.
Because again, Menashe and many people, at Sundance, this was the first time Menashe had ever been in a movie theater before. So the first time Menashe was in a movie theater was seeing himself on screen. And for many of the actors, like Abraham, have you been in a movie theater before? Your first time being in a movie theater. Shlomo, have you been in a movie theater? Shlomo here? Yeah, you been? You have been, okay. So I mean,
he's a cheater.
Okay. But you see, so for many of these actors, they just haven't had a lot of experience.
I never believed that people will get all these Jewish jokes, you know? Bitter jokes.
But coming from a documentary, this is what I love. I love about humanity is seeing the world in a way we don't expect to see it. You know, I think for many of us, we've never seen these images before. These images have never been in cinema. So that's what excited me about this project, and that's why we all worked so hard to bend over backwards. We never took the easy way out. We never filmed in false locations. We never put payas and fake beards on people. You know, it wasn't about that. It was if it wasn't actually gonna feel, except for the little boy who we did do that too. Okay, sorry, we did. Yeah, the little boy, there's nothing pervier than grown men walking through communities trying to cast children. I'm sorry, it's not a polite thing to do. It should be a polite thing to do, but it's, anyway.
I asked Josh, who in the secular world wants to be interested in my story? It's not like, in the outside world, you have something people like peeping in other parts of life. He says, we'll go around the bush, don't worry, will be enough stuff.
Well, another thing I'd be remiss not to ask about, I think, like I said in the intro, not many films are shot in Borough Park, of course. Maybe you and the producers could say a bit about shooting there, sort of what that was like.
Well, just the first thing about Borough Park is that people are very nice, and very happy to have you there. But when you pull out a camera, it's like they've never seen a camera crew before, never seen people there before. So there's so many logistical challenges. But I'm gonna pass the mic. But I want everyone clap for Alex, because Alex gets nervous. His parents are in the audience, he told me. And when his parents are in the audience, he can't make a sentence right, so he just needs your encouragement right now.
I'm unusually quiet tonight. Yeah, no, filming in Borough Park was easier than we expected. None of us had spent a ton of time in the Hasidic communities outside of Josh and Yoni, and we weren't really sure how we would be received. We weren't sure if people, are they gonna spit on us or throw stones at us? And instead it was more like there was a lot of curiosity. So every time that camera came out on the streets, next thing you knew, there'd be a crowd of 30 guys in black coats, black hats, just getting uncomfortably close to Josh. I've got some great photos of actually. So there was a learning curve there, and at certain points, if too many people started gathering around, Menashe would just be like, well, I'm gonna go, and he'd just sort of wander away, and it would take us 30 minutes to find him. But all in all, it was a pretty welcoming community. We got tossed out of a few locations over the course of shooting this film, but by and large, it was surprisingly straightforward.
And to our asset, just to know, I love observations on the cinema, so a lot of times we'd be a block away on a 400mm lens, just because A, it's easier to film, but B, the whole city gets compressed, and it's just something. It reminds me of French Connection and and other New York City movies from the 70s that just a way of see the world, and just allow Menashe, like when he's talking to the beggar, you know, the beggar was fake, okay? That was an actual actor there. But the people putting money in his cup were real people walking by. And it was such an everyday occurrence, they had no idea that we were a block away filming it.
That was like a quarter of our budget just came from money people had put into his cup.
Yeah, one thing I was going to add was what Josh was saying about the flexibility that was required of us. When you look at the grocery store, for example, that's really like 3 different grocery stores because we kept getting kicked out of one and then finding another. And so you see all these different corners that in our movie represent 1, but it's really like 3, maybe 4, actually.
Well, let's turn it over to the audience. What was your question, sir? Why did they get kicked out of the grocery store?
We were stealing the M&Ms.
I think even in the secular world, very few people, very few locations are prepared for what a film crew actually does when they show up, which is we demolish everything, no matter how careful we're trying to be. And we weren't always welcome back, no matter how lovely we are.
Right, and also people being fearful of like repercussions of participating in the film, you know, like that being associated with us maybe might not be a positive thing for them. There, you know, people just didn't know how to react to us.
Yeah, it's nothing positive. Like a lot of times you could say, oh, let us film at your restaurant because we'll give you a lot of press. But none of their business, what do you call them? Audience.
Clientele.
Clientele, thank you. None of their clients would watch this movie, so there'd be no press for them. So they couldn't understand the benefit, really, of us taking over for a day.
I think another different reason why it is because somebody stands by and see you walk up and down the street. We rehearsal like 20 times, like 10 times, 7 times, but they just, what's the film? They want to see what's the story. You can't get it together, you know? So the man from the grocery told me when they finished, say, we have to rehearsal, 7 times. Oh, I don't have nerves. When you finish, give me 10 minutes, 50 minutes, and out of here. There's no fun, you know?
Like, get these amateurs out of here, basically. Yeah. Do we have more? Yeah. The question is whether the film has screened in any capacity in Borough Park.
Well, you guys are so lucky, because this is the first screening in New York City.
And then we'll be at MoMA Thursday, and then Borough Park at some point down the line.
Yeah, we'll do it. You guys should come. It's gonna be a real horror.
There is another 2 films, but it's in the same category like this. This is different because we have authentic actors. But this was Fill the Void was the same like this. It's not too much like this, but.
The question, I guess, is just how you arrived at the story.
So basically when I was casting, I was looking to find a main actor that I could write a story for them to star in. And when I met Menashe and he told me his true life story about how he really is a widower who lost custody of his son, I knew that would become the backbone of it. You know, obviously everything else, like we made into like a narrative that fits in 80 minutes. I mean, this wasn't the exact life story, but the heart of it, the essence of this story was true. And also as a non-actor for Menashe, that was a wealth of material for him to relate to, you know. And he goes to very difficult places. And for Menashe, like during the day, he would ask me, it was just difficult because what was going on in real life sometimes would also overlay in front of the camera for him, and he'd go back and forth. So it was really difficult, and I really think we should all give it up for Menashe because he yeah. What he went through emotionally for this film was unbelievable.
Well, I sort of related to that. I'm curious, how much was there much in the way of reenactment in the film, because that also kind of deals with the documentary dimension of what you guys were up to a little bit?
What do you mean? Actual moments in his life?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, nothing exact, right? There's no exact moment of your life that we're recreating. It's the emotional essence of what your life was. But the funny thing was really the boss scenes with Menashe, because literally Menashe would be skipping work to play hooky to come film with us. and the boss would be yelling at him, and then he'd go meet Shlomo, who's the boss back there, and he would be repeating the exact same lines that Menashe's boss would be saying on the cell phone. So that was the most.
In the time of the shooting, I get the same anxiety.
The question is whether the screenplay was written in Yiddish.
So we wrote it in English. So Josh and I wrote it together with one other writer who's also a filmmaker as well, named Musa Saeed. We figured out is probably the first Muslim guy to write a Yiddish movie. And none of us speak Yiddish really. So we wrote it in English and then it was a combination of live translation on set and letting the actors sort of improvise around what we had written. For some scenes and other scenes, having it translated into Yiddish by multiple translators, as well as having a translator on set with us. So the entire shoot, when we were shooting, I would have two earpieces in, one hearing the live Yiddish audio, and the other one would be hearing like on a 3 or 4 second delay the English translation to just make sure people were on book or if they were ad-libbing what was being said. But yeah, it is difficult enough making a movie in your native language. It is a lot harder when neither the director nor the producers actually speak it.
But one of the great things about it too was I was just watching people's faces and people's mannerisms, and you could tell, even if you can't understand what they're saying, you can tell emotionally where they are and how they're showing themselves. So it was kind of fun in almost like an abstract sense to be directing actors that you can't understand a word they're saying. So that, it's funny. So that scene, I literally made the whole film just to put that one scene in the movie. Because, again, it's moments like that where you realize that this is the whole point of religion, to have these huge moments of society coming together, joy, mystery, excitement. So we actually filmed during a real Lag BaOmer event. And that was filmed like a handful of months before actual production.
Yeah, that was the first thing you shot.
Actually, we shot like a perm short film.
Right, I remember the test footage, yeah.
Yeah. Like every holiday, it happens yearly, Menashe says, which is true. It's not fake news.
What's Lag BaOmer?
Lag BaOmer is a...
That's it.
Yeah.
Maybe, or Danelle. Okay. Yeah.
Well, why don't you do it, Menashe? All right. I'm going to butcher this. All my religious family in the audience. No, but Lag BaOmer, it's an annual. There's a lot of Jewish holidays in the year, and that's just one of them. And it's a celebration. So the idea is you are, Menashe, take it from here. You're celebrating the.
Kind of a yahrzeit.
Yeah, it's a yahrzeit of the rabbi.
One of the rabbis who make the Talmud.
Yeah. So it's like, and it's really connected also to Jewish mysticism. I was in.
It's lightness, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a celebration, and I went on a pilgrimage once in Israel to a mountain where the rabbi is buried, and it's just such an incredible experience. So I love that Josh included that moment of people dancing and lighting a fire, and if anyone in the audience has anything else to say about it, go ahead.
Josh told me then, I have someone set me up a whole scene. Let's go shoot it.
And it's happening in a month and a half, probably. You guys should all go to Borough Park. It's going to be incredible.
Thought I saw. No? Yeah.
The question.
If it's allowed to say in the movie, Shema Yisrael with God's name. The people who criticize already criticize that. But I don't know. It's not forbidden. But you know what they say in Fiddler, it's not real forbidden.
No, I mean, a lot of religious people are impressed when they see it, that we actually are saying God's name, that we're actually saying the prayers fully. And again, it was just about authenticity. It was like, this was just important. And for Danny, so Danny Finkelman is the Hasidic producer. He's not here right now.
But they didn't fake it. They
really did it, yeah.
They say the blessing.
Yeah.
They really say the blessing. We were praying too. Yeah. It was not for playing. It wasn't.
That's a question for Menashe about how his rabbi felt about participating in the film.
Your That sums it up as much as I think he's willing to discuss in
I
public.
don't bother them, they don't bother me. Yeah, it's a kind of ice breaking because people have to create, how do you say, discover their talents, whatever, and it has to be. I believe that everybody has a talent, has to use it. If it's in the old days, you was not allowed to have a tape recorder too. So people who want to be strict for themselves, okay, but today they have Chabad, who's modern Hasidic, and for them is the movie very good. But us, by our strict community, if someone wants to watch something from a video, they put it in slides. Slides like every 4 seconds a picture. But they asked me before, somebody asked me if this movie will be in slides. I say no. Who watch that will watch it normally.
I do think A24 should release a slide version. I think.
In slides?
Untapped
Yeah, it would be
market.
incredible.
The question, for those who couldn't hear, was about the decision to sort of avoid more like anthropological or ethnographic aims with the film, I guess.
Yeah, I wanted to feel like you were just dropped into a world you knew nothing about, for it to feel foreign, but at the same point for it to feel universal. So we purposefully did not explain many, many things in the movie, but I thought that was part of the fun. That was part of the reason why you wanted to watch the movie, is that you didn't come to it for explanation. You came to it to see something you've never seen before.
Where did you find the little boy who plays the son?
Did everyone hear that? Yeah, okay.
We imported him.
Yeah, where all good things come from, the Holy Land.
The long and short of it with Reven, his parents are Yiddishists, and despite not being particularly religious, decided to teach all of their children Yiddish. We were unable to get a kid from the community itself to be in the film for a number of different reasons. So they were living briefly in New York, and Josh somehow met his mother.
Yeah, they were living in, actually, there is a very small subset of people. There's only about 1,000 people in the world who are non-religious who speak Yiddish. And I reached out to that circle, and this guy, and then his family was teaching in Baltimore, I think at Johns Hopkins. They're both PhDs, both his parents, in Holocaust studies and Yiddish. So I got them to come up.
Yeah.
And then during the first set, again, everything was about doing screen tests. So that I brought Menashe and Reuben in a room together, and literally Menashe looked at this little boy and really saw his son in him. And immediately there's this incredible fatherly warmth that I never saw in Menashe before. And Reuben, being this little shy kid, was really perfect because that shyness that was natural to him also showed that distance that existed between them in the script. So immediately they met, and then the next day I think we were shooting some test scenes with them. But Menashe, right, as soon as you saw Reuben, you saw your own son in him?
Yeah. He was not dressed the same yet.
But and just fun things like juggling. I mean, Reuben was just so much fun on set. And the thing about Reuben was that he was great. We had so much fun for the first 2 days, and the third day, he just gave up. And he was like a 10-year-old boy or a 9-year-old, 8 years old. How was we when we started shooting? And it's kind of like, how do you get an 8-year-old boy to do anything? So I called up one of my teacher friends, and they said, the secret is gifts. So I gave him a sour Skittle for every good take. And every bad take, he lost the Skittle. And when he got the 50 Skittles, he got a book. And you should have seen that kid work hard, man. You never saw a little boy work then for Skittles, let me tell you.
One big surprise. I have a lot of surprises from the whole movie. One big surprise was I'm writing my own skits, how you say, skits and screenplays, how do you call it? Auf Yiddish, Szene. Scenes, yeah. But he didn't let me to write it. He said he will write it for me, the whole story. So suddenly I read the script, and I saw that he writes there my thoughts. I said, how do you know my thoughts? By talking to by the date. How do you know how we talking? I don't know how he gets all the secrets. But that's his talent to
But-
get to, my
yeah.
thoughts, my everything. And he told me, just play it. I get you.
But for me, Alex and Musa, it was like an exhaustive process of just like every word, every phrase to make it seem authentic, and really getting a lot of consultants involved. Like for us, it didn't matter. Oh, I mean, all that mattered was it to be truthful. If it was truthful, then it was gonna fly, and yeah, and it destroyed us on so many levels to achieving that.
The question is whether you considered an alternate ending, or if this was always the conclusion you had in mind.
Well, emotionally, I knew this was the ending before I knew the beginning, actually. But the exact shot, we didn't know until we were into production.
Do we have any other? Well, the question is about the community's response to the film. But I guess if it hasn't screened, this is the first screening in New York. They haven't seen it.
I think the people in community who cares about that will not watch that, will not come in theater. So if they cheating and comes to the theater, so they don't are allowed to have a question. You can't be a hypocrite,
It's gonna be one of the most pirated Jewish films of all time.
It's nothing wrong, but you have to know where you stand. If you're, whatever. It's
Wait, could you repeat that? Sorry, I couldn't.
What's the real life ending?
Oh, okay. What was the real life ending?
Real life of what? Real life is still going.
Yeah.
It hasn't been written yet.
All right. Do we have any more? All right.
Please tell us you have a distributor.
They do. It's A24. Yeah.
Best guys around. They haven't settled on a date yet, but A24, who produced and distributed Moonlight and many other great films, are going to release the film sometime probably late in the summer. So tell your friends then, please.
Yeah, we met in Utah, Chris Columbus. I told him I'm not the, I have the, how you say it, I have the honor, to meet you. He says, no, I'm not picking everyone. I like this. It's very authentic. It's very special. Yeah, he was very inspired about that. Yeah.
How'd we cast the rabbi? Again, we just held. I mean, casting was a nightmare. But it was just a game of telephone of just getting people in the room, and he was one of the 27 high school students I said who showed up. But yeah, it's also just want to thank so many people who are here tonight who helped me make this film. Besides A24, the Medfords, my parents, Darren, Jeannie, Scott Cummings.
Jillian.
Yeah,
Maybe everyone
Jillian.
could stand up if you're involved in the film.
Yeah, everyone stand up, please. If you worked on the film, stand up right now to have everyone. Yeah.
Our kosher chef, Jasmine, to know.
Because it takes the mashbacha, like he says. You need that mashbacha.
I think that's a nice note to end this on. So thank you all, and yeah, thank you.